while you were gone. Nice to have you back with us.
Thank you. It's good to be back. It's nice to get back into the routine after a couple days off, and especially when the weather is looking so nice across so many communities in Canada. We've got generally high pressure at play all the way from the Pacific right towards the Atlantic, with just a couple lows who are dampening our party. But we are going to be pushing 30 in parts of Ontario and southern Quebec as we head into this afternoon. When we get into these oranges, that's when you know it is going to be nice and warm. But with that heat is coming some pretty intense humidity, particularly in parts of Ontario. So temperature today getting pretty close to 30 degrees. I think this is actually undershooting a lot of communities, the computer model. I think Toronto, for example, will get closer to 30 today. Ottawa, 30 as well. Niagara, even 31 later on this afternoon. But when temperature is high, and then when the dew point is in the high teens, low 20s, that means the air is nearly, well, getting pretty well saturated. So that humidity is definitely going to feel quite oppressive in some communities, particularly southern Ontario later on today. Plus, there is the widespread risk of thunderstorm. We'll get more into that in just a second. So we're heading over into Quebec, 28 today in Montreal. So nice hot day as well. 28 in Quebec City. A little bit further north into central Quebec, that's where we're seeing the active weather. And then for Atlantic Canada, we see a continuation, especially for the Maritimes, of that heat. 28 today in Fredericton, 25 in Charlottetown. Look up towards Newfoundland and Labrador. It is cooler and wet. The average high this time of year in St. John's is 21. Areas off the coastline might get closer to 20, but right along the coast, it'll be closer to about 14 later on today. And we've got those storms pushing their way towards Newfoundland already this morning. We've had some lightning just west of Cape Breton already to start us off. Areas of central and western Newfoundland will see possibly a little bit more rain, particularly right around Corner Brook, if those thunderstorms do fire up later on this morning. Here's a look at some of the totals. You can see it's definitely amplified up towards Corner Brook. Again, that is just indicative of if thunderstorms develop. East of that, the rain is much more drizzly today, including for St. John's. And you can see that's pretty well the dominant story in Newfoundland right as we head into the afternoon. Now, and behind that, the low that we're watching is well to the north towards Hudson Bay, but this cold front is prompting some storms through western and central Quebec later on today, plus the isolated risk of non-severe thunderstorms in southern Ontario, almost a duplicate of yesterday around the Toronto area. Now, this front, as we head into Wednesday, is going to slide its way southward, and as it does, we get into widespread afternoon active weather across southern Ontario, all the way from Windsor up towards Sudbury, across southern Quebec, and then right along the St. Lawrence. For Thursday afternoon, we almost see a duplicate of that. So this afternoon active weather isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Make sure you keep an eye to the sky late day for the next couple of days. Now here's a look at your local forecast. Good morning to you. We're starting with our upper air pattern across Canada, and you can see while things are not all too exciting right now, we've got a fairly zonal trend across the country. We're going to see a low over Hudson Bay amplify over the next couple of days. This, for eastern Canada, really promotes the instability into the afternoons. So remember all those thunderstorms we've had in the afternoons for eastern Canada? Yeah, that continues this week. But the good thing is, for the first half of the day, generally it's looking pretty sunny across Ontario, for Quebec, and into portions of Atlantic Canada. It's just into the afternoons where we start to get into messier weather. This morning, we do have some storms to talk about. We've got a couple spots across northern Ontario through the northwest, right along Thunder Bay, and then heading up towards Hudson Bay. And then for Atlantic Canada, where we've got some thunderstorms this morning that are just beginning to push their way in towards Newfoundland and then the northern sections of Cape Breton. For Newfoundland, this means a fairly wet and drizzly forecast. You can see that rain starts first in Corner Brook, possible thunderstorms there, slides its way up towards Gander. Pretty well the entirety of the island can expect some drizzle today. Up towards Labrador, a little more sunshine, variable cloudiness today. Atlantic Canada, the Maritimes, you are going to see a hot day today. 28 today in Fredericton, 27 in Sydney. Heading over to Quebec, southern Quebec, you're looking great this afternoon. 28 degrees in Montreal. It's further north today into central and western Quebec. Where we'll see a risk of some thunderstorms developing later on as a cold front slides its way through. You can see temperatures are still scorching, though, getting pretty close to 30 degrees. And for Ontario, we've got scattered thunderstorms. Sudbury further north, a lot more cloud today. South of that, south of North Bay, you're seeing temperatures get into the high 20s, low 30s, but it is going to be very humid. So the humidex values will be in the high 30s right across southern Ontario. Further north, we've got a risk of some thunderstorms, but also right along Lake Ontario as we head into the afternoon as well. The rest of Canada, to be fair, we wouldn't do a story about it because 9 kilometers carrying a little kitty is no big feat, but 9 kilometers carrying what's probably an 80-pound dog, that's a big deal. Kudos to those people who rescued the lab. What was his name? Louie, sweet old Louie, very cute. Hey, this morning across Canada, good morning to you wherever you're joining us with our upper air pattern. That's where we begin because we're watching this trough that's developing right over the middle of our country, really, as we head into the next couple of days. But for eastern Canada, that really amplifies the risk of active weather into the afternoon. It's going to be a bit unsettled for the next couple of days. It doesn't mean it's all bad news. No, in fact, we have some of the hottest temperatures in the country in eastern Canada, but it means that we will be talking thunderstorms this afternoon, tomorrow afternoon, Thursday afternoon, Friday afternoon, really until we head until Saturday. This morning, we actually have some thunderstorms pushing in towards Newfoundland already this morning. Newfoundland, it is going to be a cooler, wetter, drizzly day down towards the Maritimes. Once these showers move their way through, which for the most part they already have, you'll enjoy more sunshine later on this afternoon. And generally, we do see temperatures pushing 30, not only in portions of New Brunswick, but through southern Quebec and southern Ontario as well. But with that heat is coming some pretty intense humidity. So expect humidex values across southern Ontario in particular to be in the mid to high 30s. We've also got a wee bit of fog this morning as well for areas east of Toronto up towards Ottawa this morning. Further north through central Quebec, you can see a whole lot of cloud. We've got some rain showers this morning stretching all the way down towards Thunder Bay. It looks like some spotty showers around the region, otherwise fairly cloudy to start you off. As we slide over to the prairies, you can see lots of sunshine today in Manitoba, most of Saskatchewan as well, but we do have some unsettled weather, and that's coming in from Alberta. Not only unsettled, not only wet, but also cooler. That warm up inhibited by a whole lot of smoke left over in the air from the fires that are still burning in BC. So that unsettled weather largely around Edmonton and then towards Saskatoon as we head in towards this afternoon. Generally non-severe thunderstorms, but we could get some pockets of some heavy downpours, and then they'll push southward down through Calgary as we head into tomorrow morning and then the southwest of Saskatchewan. So that's your outlook for the next couple of days. Slide over to BC. We've got poor air quality advisories. No surprise there. Obviously, the fire's still burning. A high amount of fine particulate matter is in the air, not only in portions of the southern interior, but also as we're heading into the southeast as well. Now, that's accompanied by hot and dry weather, and that's prompted a special weather statement for the BC coast, including Metro Vancouver, because of how long it's going to stay sunny and hot, really, as we go through the next couple of days, all the way to Thursday. You see no precipitation whatsoever forecasted for BC. It's not until Thursday evening before we start to get into some wetter weather. Now, across where we'd like to see rain is in BC. For the Pacific coast through the interior, where we've got these fires still continuing to burn, and that's just not the case, unfortunately, as we advance our forecaster through Tuesday into Wednesday as well, and then finally into Thursday. You see nothing really happens. Dominant high pressure over the BC coastline. So that means not only is it sunny, not only is it hot, but the air quality will continue to be poor as those fires continue to burn. So there are widespread air quality advisories in BC for all areas in the blue. Environment Canada has also issued special weather statements just because it is so hot today into Wednesday and Thursday as well. And so that includes Metro Vancouver and portions of Vancouver Island as well. Now we slide over into Alberta, and it's a different story. That's where we see a cooler, wetter forecast, but some of that wet weather is coming in the form of thunderstorms, particularly in through central Alberta and north of Edmonton, and then sliding down through central Saskatchewan as we head into the afternoon. Even Calgary might get a thunderstorm a little bit later on today. I do think most of the activity will stay non-severe, but it looks like a couple heavy pockets of rain could be possible in those storms. That will then slide south as we head into Wednesday morning, affecting southwest Saskatchewan. But this morning, you can see most of the activity is pretty well confined to Alberta, just beginning to creep eastward through the Swift Current area, not quite making it to Moose Jaw just yet. Generally, though, pretty sunny day ahead in Saskatchewan and Manitoba. And for portions of northwest Ontario, the far northern communities, including Red Lake, Ontario, further south, Thunder Bay, seeing cloudy sky and some showers. That continues in through central Quebec. But south of that, it's hot and dry for now. We do have the risk of some afternoon thunderstorms, but hot and humid weather will persist for much of southern Ontario, with our contouring here showing that temperatures reach that 30-degree mark right right along the Ontario-Quebec boundary. Now we slide over to the rest of Atlantic Canada, and you can see that generally the Maritime's pretty nice for you. That mild weather we're seeing for most of southern Quebec continues through the Maritime provinces, but then we get thunderstorms as we slide up towards Corner Brook. That will then push its way up towards Gander later on today. In Newfoundland, you can expect a cooler, wetter, drizzly day today in comparison to your friends in New Brunswick. Now here's a look at your local forecast. 4.4 degrees Celsius. So today it's cooler in Newfoundland and Labrador because we've got rain and thunderstorms moving through, drizzle otherwise, much more sunshine in the Maritimes. Central and western Quebec dealing with thunderstorms, particularly in the back end of your day. Southern Quebec through the eastern townships up towards the St. Lawrence, sunshine and hot, humid weather. Sudbury, Timmins, you've got a risk of thunderstorm later on today, a lot more cloud. Further south through southern Ontario, most of the day is pretty sunny, but it's kind of setting up similar to yesterday where a few communities around Lake Ontario could see thunderstorms into the afternoon. Otherwise, just know it will be hot and muggy today. Further north, there is that risk of some storms. We've also had early morning rain right around Thunder Bay. That should clear later on. Dryden getting up to 24. Winnipeg today, 25 degrees, generally pretty sunny through much of Manitoba, just variable cloudiness there. Brandon, 26. In through central Saskatchewan, there's a risk of thunderstorm later on. On and off showers through Edmonton today, plus a risk of thunderstorm. Around Calgary, could see some thunderstorms, particularly west towards the foothills, but some of the smoke might inhibit some of that convective activity. It's also stalling the warm-up. 16 today in Calgary. Compare that to 23 in Fort Mac and 25 in Yellowknife. High pressure really dominant over the western side of our country, and so we're seeing plenty of sunshine today. 27 degrees today in Vancouver, 34 in Kelowna. This is just complicating the fire situation there. Air quality is still poor, and it's likely to stay dry right up until Thursday. That's a look across the country, but before we go, if we could share this picture from Wendy. We just got it in over Lake, but we are continuing to see that hot, dry weather trend continue for the BC coast as this ridge of high pressure really builds in, and it just holds steady through today and then in through Thursday. Now, as we go towards eastern Canada, we've got an upper trough that's contributing to the risk of unstable weather for the next couple of days. So today in Newfoundland and Labrador, that does mean some rain. We've got thunderstorms that are likely through Corner Brook and then pushing eastward towards Gander. You can see some of these totals are fairly amplified. That would be if thunderstorms do fire up. Otherwise, you can expect a little bit less in terms of rainfall, more like drizzle, but cool temperatures. I mean, we're peaking in the mid-teens today in Newfoundland and Labrador with that rain lasting most of the day. I mentioned the instability in behind that. You can see through central and western Quebec and then portions of northern Ontario. We are seeing the risk of evening thunderstorms today and then again tomorrow as this cold front slumps its way southward. Outside of that, you can anticipate hot, humid conditions. We also have a risk of thunderstorm across portions of central Alberta heading into Saskatchewan as well. These storms are likely to be non-severe, but there is the risk of seeing a few heavy pockets of rain, particularly around Edmonton, west of Calgary, and then northeast of Saskatoon, right as we head into the evening. That will then slide its way southward in towards southwest Saskatchewan as we head into tomorrow morning. Poor air quality advisories continue to be in effect in British Columbia, as well as a special weather statement indicating how hot the weather's been. I mentioned that ridge of high pressure. At the surface, this is what that means. Nothing in terms of rainfall today into Wednesday and Thursday as well. We will see that dry weather continue for portions of British Columbia. That's a look across the country this morning. Now here's your local forecast.